Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talking Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today. And boy, am I excited. You can feel it in my voice, can't you? Uh, Beterbiev, he's going to enter the ring against Callum Smith, just been announced. Let's read the report from Charles Brunn, our good friend over at BoxingNews24.com. Charles writes, Callum Smith has his work cut out for him in his title challenge against IBF, WBC, and WBO light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev on January 13th at the Centre Videotron, Quebec City, Canada. Callum will be in uncharted territory and will have to rely on his instincts to get through the fight, says Charles. He continues, on paper, the 6'4" stork-like Callum has had very little chance of defeating the two-time Russian Olympian Beterbiev because he showed his level in his one-sided loss to Canelo Alvarez in 2020 and in his controversial 12-round unanimous decision win over John Ryder back in November 2019. And that was in his hometown of Liverpool. Callum looked awful in both of those fights, and he should have done the right thing by giving Ryder a rematch in a neutral venue like London. Instead of running it back against Ryder, Callum moved on and got a massive payday against Canelo in 2020, and he's fought just twice since then. Charles Brunn doesn't know what it is about fighting Canelo. Once a fighter faces him, their careers slow to a crawl as ambition goes out the window, and they're never the same. Getting all that loot destroys motivation. The Beterbiev Smith fight was initially scheduled for August 19th, but was postponed until January 13th due to Beterbiev's need for dental surgery. Callum's trainer, James Buddy McGirt, said he's not bothered about the delay in the fight, and it's understandable because he needs as much preparation time as possible for him to get ready for the unbeaten Beterbiev, 19-0, by the way, 19 knockouts. Callum, by the way, he's sporting a 29-1 record, 21 knockouts, is getting this title shot against Beterbiev on a silver platter without having had to work for it like regular fighters, as all he did to get the opportunity was beat veteran Lenin Castillo and little-known Mathieu Bauderlique to become the WBC mandatory. Ideally, Callum should have had to beat these contenders to get a crack at Beterbiev's belts: Joshua Buatsi, Dan Aziz, Anthony Yard, and Richard Rivera. And as we know, a couple of those chaps are fighting very soon. But let's move along to some more news about that particular card, in particular, the undercard. As initially planned, WBC number 1, WBA number 2, IBF number 3, super middleweight Christian Mbilli will be part of the boxing card on January 13th, as I said, over at the Centre Videotron in Quebec City, featuring unified WBC, WBO, and IBF light heavyweight champ Artur Beterbiev. Mbilli, he's 25-0, 21 knockouts, a rising star, will defend his WBC Continental Americas and WBA international titles in the evening semifinal against the number 9 IBF contender, Rohan Murdock. Who? 27-2, 19 knockouts, which will be broadcast live on ESPN in the United States, as well as in Canada on that channel called Punching Grace. Christian Mbilli had this to say about Rohan. Rohan Murdock is a quality opponent with a completely different style from my recent opponents. It will also be an opportunity to gain new fans before my crowning as world champion. I look forward to starting training camp and can't wait to be in Quebec on January 13th to wow the crowd. Okay. Zhilei Zhang, let's move along to the heavyweights. A representative for Zhilei Zhang, according to BoxingScene.com, says he doesn't have high hopes that his charge will ever get to square off against Anthony Joshua. China Zhang is coming off a rousing third-round knockout of Joe Joyce in their rematch last month, and is more definitive than their first encounter in April, which ended with Zhang stopping Joyce in the 6th round. The 2 consecutive wins over a once highly regarded contender have made the Chinese southpaw a hot commodity these days within the heavyweight ranks, as we all know. And after the win over Joyce, Zhang immediately called out Tyson Fury, the WBC champion, to a showdown. That matchup, however, will not materialize anytime soon, since Fury has a scheduled fight with Francis Ngannou on October 28th. And people are wondering, given the pay-per-view price, whether they're paying for a fight or whether they're paying for the fighter's next vacations. Followed by a showdown with Alexander Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight championship. Zhang's second most desirable option is to take on London's Joshua, a former titleist and one of the biggest stars in British sports for the past decade. But according to Terry Lane, a co-manager for Zhang, Joshua nor his handlers, chiefly his promoter Eddie Hearn of Matchroom, have no interest in that fight. Eddie knows, Lane said. Put the contract in front of us. We'll sign it right this second to fight AJ. We'll sign it right this second. Okay, that's Lane speaking on behalf of Zhang. We could do it in China. We could do it in Saudi Arabia. We could do it in the UK. We have multiple options. The money's there. This is what we want to do. I know their side, no matter what they say publicly, they want nothing to do with this fight. They want nothing to do with Zhilei Zhang. So they're avoiding him. But listen, that's the fight we want. Zhang, by the way, he's 26-1-1, 21 knockouts. He has 2 fights remaining with Queensberry Promotions, was previously promoted by Hearn's Matchroom, but they parted ways after Zhang dropped a disputed decision to Philip Hrgovic last August. Lane has suggested the likes of Joseph Parker and Luis Ortiz for Zhang's next fight. Hearn has indicated that Joshua, 26-3, could return to the ring in December. So let's wait and see, I suppose, is that answer. Speaking of wait and see, hopefully good friend, British boxer Connor Coghill gets out of hospital soon. Hospital scans found a bleed on his brain a week after his knockout loss on the Wood versus Warrington undercard. Let's see how he's doing here. The featherweight star is under observation after complaining of headaches since appearing on the Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington card. Coghill fell to a 12th round technical knockout defeat against Hopi Price. That was in Sheffield, as you'll recall, back October 7th. Price won the WBA Continental belt as he handed Coghill his first professional loss. The 28-year-old had been knocked down 4 times before referee Bob Williams stopped the bout in the final round. His trainer, Steffi Bull, has now confirmed he's in stable condition in hospital. Bull said Connor has had headaches since his boxing contest last week. Obviously, it's devastating news for Connor, as boxing has been his life since a young age. But he's stable, he's resting, and wants people to respect his time during this difficult period. Everyone at Steffi Bull Promotions are praying for a full recovery and wish him good health. And we'll keep you all updated. So let's have a quick look in conclusion to this particular episode at what's happening on the Olympic side of things for many of those amateurs around the world who are currently taking part in the various tournaments underway. For example, 30 boxing places at the Paris 2024 are on offer when America's qualifying tournaments get underway at the Pan American Games taking place in Chile. So 30 spots available to be taken by boxers from the Americas. Anyway, James Slater over at boxing247.com writes, for so many people all around the world, the very notion that boxing may one day soon be wiped off the roster as far as the super prestigious, yes indeed, life-changing Olympic Games are concerned is a terrifying one. But it's true. Boxing could become a sport no longer featured at the Olympics. We've heard talk of this effect recently with the IBA, International Boxing Association, losing their recognition to the IOC in June of this year. The decision is being appealed, but boxing, which has been a huge part of Olympic Games since 1920, is a sport that IOC President Thomas Bach wants to see remain as part of the Olympic program. For now, boxing will stay where it is as far as the Olympics go, with boxing to be featured in Paris 2024. But after that, who knows? For now, boxing at 2028 in Los Angeles is, quote, on hold. We want boxing on the program. We have no problem with boxing or boxers. We have a problem with the governing body, Bach said. The problem Wack and his colleagues have with the governing body, that's the IBA, is down to the concerns regarding the IBA's officiating, their finances, and ability to govern suitably. There have been suggestions of corruption in some Olympic boxing matches, and on it goes. But on to brighter news, as I said, there are some games coming up. The next stage of the Olympic boxing qualification pathway is Paris. As Paris 2024 gets underway, it will be this week when 130 male and female boxers will compete for, as I said, those 30 quota places in the Americas qualification tournament at the 2023 Pan American Games in Santiago, Chile. And this, as you know, is being produced by World Boxing. The boxing competition will run from October 19th to 27th and take place at the Olympic Training Center in Nanua across 6 weight divisions for women and 7 for men. The top 2 from each category will successfully book their place at Paris 2024, with exceptions in the women's 27 and 60K, where the top 4 boxers will qualify. So far, 104 boxers have secured their places at Paris 2024, following the first 3 continental qualifying events in Europe, Africa, and Asia. The full boxing schedule for the Americas qualification tournament at the 2023 Pan American Games in Santiago begins October 19th with the Session 1 preliminary rounds, moving through October 20th for the preliminary rounds, October 21st, the preliminary rounds, and Session 2 preliminary rounds, before concluding finally, as I said earlier, on October 27th. Details of the draw and results of all the action can be viewed on the worldboxing.org website. Right, boxing fans around the world, thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate it very much. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you later on at 4 p.m. when I join Mike Orr for his show, Knuckle Up. Thank you.